Now, of course, if you're watching this video, you read the title, you saw the thumbnail, you know who it is we're talking about, and you know the links that these two guys have had in the past. We're heading over to the Detroit Red Wings and talking about a particular article that was published on a website that I actually haven't heard too much about before. ClutchPoints.com published this piece. Tristan McKinstry is our writer, who goes out there and talks about two Detroit Red Wings who are in danger of regressing for 2024-2025. This isn't your old run-of-the-mill trade rumor, update, Steve Yzerman's looking to make a move kind of article. This is just an article talking about the guys on the team that may decline, and I thought this article brought some interesting points to the table that we could definitely discuss here. So, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and read this piece published by Tristan McKinstry. It was from 2 days ago on August 24th. And the article goes out there and talks about how the Red Wings had themselves a pretty good run, how they missed out in the playoffs, but they gave their fans an exciting elimination to watch with clutch goals, lots of points, and a really big dynamism towards the end there. The Red Wings probably had the most exciting end to a season they've had in years. You think about how bad they were towards the end of the 2010s, how they were phasing out of the Datsuk, Zetterberg years, and how now they are finally in a spot where you could even say it's a realistic possibility for them to make the playoffs in 2024, 2025. So, lots of good things to pay attention to, right? With this in mind, though, the article then goes out there and says, making the playoffs is much easier said than done. The Wings made strong moves in NHL free agency to bolster their roster this summer. However, other teams also made strong moves, especially teams in Detroit's division, such as the Canadiens and the Bruins. Even beyond that, there is no guarantee players who contributed well last year will do so in 2024-2025. Some players could regress on the ice from last year's performance, and there are two Red Wings regression candidates that fans should be aware of as the new season draws near. Let's go out there and read the two pieces that are written about in regards to how Patrik Kane is a Red Wings regression candidate, as well as Alex Debrincat, who could take a step back. Let's go over to the Kane stuff first. The article talks about how signing Kane was a good move, how he was coming off of this surgery, and how things were not looking all too great, and how players that had the surgery in the past didn't really bounce back, and it was a really tragic kind of track record that this surgery had with NHL athletes of yesteryear. But Patrik Kane, he was able to subvert those expectations. He came over to Detroit and had a very, very good season. He scored 20 goals and 47 points in 50 games with Detroit, and the winged wheel nearly made the playoffs, thanks in large to Kane's performance. He re-signed with the Wings this summer before NHL free agency began. In saying this, though, Patrik Kane is a regression candidate. He certainly performed well in 23-24, but there are reasons to be concerned. Kane scored 20 goals this past year, but had an individual expected goals tally of only 14.3, according to Evolving Hockey. Furthermore, the article argues here, the future Hall of Famer outplayed his expectations in a few other areas. He finished with the third highest goals for percentage, 51.56, and fifth in goals per 60 minutes, 2.77. These totals are well above his expected numbers. He had an expected goals for percentage of 48.55 and an expected goals for per 60 of 2.38. Kane can certainly build upon his performance for 23-24, and the difference in actual and expected analyses can be explained in part by the quality of the team around him. However, it is still worth noting that the future Hall of Famer could take a step back from what we saw this past season. And this is why I wanted to make this video from this article, because it's not just saying, okay, hypothetically, this and that, and oh, I think he's not good, he can't produce, whatever. Like, it doesn't beat around the bush here. This article straight up brings the numbers and says, hey, Patrik Kane severely outperformed his expectations and expected numbers by a significant amount, and he had great numbers to show for it. That doesn't mean, though, that heading into next season he is guaranteed to doing the same again. Expected numbers are normally the way that you could evaluate how far players are outscoring their projected level of production. How guys are actually overperforming. And so for Patty Kane, while I don't want to say that, oh yeah, I don't believe in the expected numbers and I think he'll come back just fine and get a point per game season, obviously that would be ideal, but I think this serves as a nice warning light for anybody to go out there and evaluate, try to take a look at some of the futures of the betting odds and everything. If you wanted to say, hey, Patrik Kane over under 65 points, you could really start to think about it a bit more now, where it's like, hey, you have to consider how well Patrik Kane outperformed his expected numbers, because that's going to play into how people view his odds and how he'll perform next year. It doesn't guarantee anything. So, at the very least, while Patrik Kane is a good enough player where if he gets 80 points, nobody's going to be surprised if he has himself a little bit of a down year, because it rounds out, let's say his statistical profile evens itself out more so into the expected numbers. Then if he only ends off with 50, 60 points this upcoming year, I don't think we should be all too surprised either. Disappointed, sure, but not really surprised. Now let's go out there and read what the article says about Alex Debrincat, because it also says here that he could take a step back. The Wings traded for Michigan native Debrincat last July, hoping, okay, we can skip that. The context is all in our brains already. To start the season, Debrincat got off to a hot start. However, he became rather inconsistent as the year went on. Still, he put up 27 goals and 67 points in his first year back home. It's a solid season for the Detroit forward, though the team certainly hopes there is more to come. Debrincat, like Kane, could certainly build upon his previous performance. However, he also overperformed in some of his analytics. For instance, his 55.34 goals for percentage led all Red Wings forwards in 23-24 at 5v5, according to Evolving Hockey. In saying this, his expected goals for percentage was just 48.02. The gap between his 3.29 goals for per 60 and 2.58 expected goals for per 60 is also rather noteworthy. Debrincat has room to grow his game on the ice. If he can find consistency, he has a chance to return to the 40-goal form he had in years prior. Still, it's worth acknowledging that things could also go the other direction in 24-25. And some of those numbers are pretty staggering, honestly. A real goals for percentage of 55%, but an expected goals for percentage of 48%. It's either Alex Debrincat was really, really bad defensively, but just got away with it, or his goal scoring wasn't really coming at actual expected goal production rates. He was just kind of finding ways to put the puck in the back of the net, defying all odds, despite some of the numbers not indicating that his goals should have been goals. It is interesting to break down the analytics about it all, because it gives you a bigger picture as to how these players are playing, removed from just the hard box score at the end of the night. Hey, the guy finished off the game with a goal and 2 assists. He must have played great. But if you look at some of the expected goals, maybe he actually got bailed out by his goaltender after giving up a few bad chances, and despite having a positive goals for percentage, he actually has a negative expected goals for percentage. Who really knows? Like, there are different things that you could use to contextualize the way a player plays and performs, but I do think it is worth noting that for Kane and Debrincat, these guys could be in declining territory for next year if you wanted to use the advanced analytics as some sort of a gospel to indicate what you feel could be applied to this upcoming year. So, Red Wings fans, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Alex Debrincat and Patrik Kane debacle that we are talking about in this commentary. Article will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read more about this yourself. There's a bit more information that we didn't talk about in this video. But Patty Kane, Alex Debrincat, decline, yay or nay? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.